The rain hammered against the windows of my small study in Bristol, mirroring the storm raging inside me. Alaric, a 46-year-old IT consultant, had always prided myself on being a logical man, a problem solver. But the problem facing me now felt insurmountable, a betrayal so profound it threatened to shatter everything I held dear. It had started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Elara, my wife of 20 years, a vibrant and successful architect, had begun working longer hours. Initially, I attributed it to a demanding new project, a prestigious commission to design a sustainable community center on the outskirts of the city. It even felt a swell of pride, knowing how much this opportunity meant to her. But then came the late-night meetings, the weekend site visits, the hushed phone calls taken in another room. Elara had always been open and communicative, but now a wall seemed to have risen between us, brick by agonizing brick. She became distant, preoccupied, her once warm and loving eyes now clouded with a strange, unsettling secrecy. I tried to broach the subject gently, expressing my concerns, my feelings of disconnect. But each time I was met with reassurances, dismissals, and increasingly, irritation. "You're being paranoid, Alaric," she'd say, her voice laced with a weariness that stung more than any accusation. "This project is all-consuming. Can't you just trust me?" Trust. It was the foundation upon which our marriage had been built. I wanted to trust her desperately. But the nagging doubts persisted, fueled by a growing unease I couldn't shake. I found myself scrutinizing her every action, searching for clues, for answers to the questions that haunted my waking moments. One evening, Elara claimed she had to attend an emergency meeting with the project's stakeholders. As she gathered her things, I noticed a text message flash across her phone screen. It was from an unknown number, simply reading, "Can't wait to see you tonight." My heart lurched. I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that this was no ordinary work meeting. The X was a dagger twisting in my gut. I couldn't confront her directly, not yet. I needed proof, irrefutable evidence to confirm my worst fears. That night after Elara left, I made a decision that went against everything I believed in. I knew it was a violation of her privacy, a breach of the trust that was already crumbling. But I felt I had no choice. I needed to know the truth, no matter how painful. I waited until I was sure she was gone, then I carefully unlocked her phone. My hands trembled as I navigated to her messages. The unknown number was saved as Jules. As I scrolled through the conversation, the truth slammed into me with the force of a physical blow. My breath caught in my throat, my vision blurred with tears. The messages were explicit, filled with intimate details, declarations of love, and plans for secret rendezvous. Jules was not a client, not a colleague, but Elara's lover. The words on the screen danced before my eyes, each one a searing brand on my soul. I stumbled back, clutching the phone as if it were a venomous snake. The room seemed to spin, the familiar surroundings suddenly alien and hostile. 20 years. 20 years of shared laughter, dreams, and promises, all reduced to a pile of ashes by her infidelity. I spent the rest of the night in a daze, replaying the messages over and over, trying to make sense of the senseless. How could she do this? How could she betray me, our marriage, our family, with such cold-blooded ease? As dawn broke, painting the sky in hues of gray and pink, I knew I couldn't stay in the house, not for another minute. I packed a small bag, grabbed my car keys, and drove aimlessly, seeking escape from the suffocating weight of my despair. I ended up in a small coastal town, miles from Bristol, the salty air stinging my face as I walked along the deserted beach. The vastness of the ocean mirrored the immensity of my grief, the relentless waves echoing the turmoil within me. For days I wandered in a fog of numbness, barely eating, barely sleeping, haunted by the images of Elara and Jules, their faces etched into my mind like a grotesque painting. I considered confronting her, demanding answers, unleashing my rage. But the thought of a screaming match, of begging for explanations, filled me with disgust. I realized that I didn't want to fight for her, not anymore. Her betrayal had irrevocably shattered something within me, a trust that could never be repaired. I couldn't forgive her, couldn't forget what she had done. The only way to salvage my sanity, my self-respect, was to walk away, When I finally returned to Bristol, I found Elara waiting for me, her face etched with worry. "Where have you been?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I've been so worried." I looked at her, at the woman I had loved and trusted for so long, and felt nothing but a cold, empty void. "I know about Jules," I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. Her face paled, her eyes widened in panic. "Alaric, I can explain." "There's nothing to explain," I interrupted. "I've read the messages. I know everything." Tears streamed down her face as she pleaded for forgiveness, for another chance. She claimed it was a mistake, a moment of weakness, that she still loved me. But her words rang hollow, like a cheap imitation of the truth. "I'm leaving Elara," I said, turning away. "I've already spoken to a lawyer. I want a divorce." She collapsed to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. But I didn't stop, didn't look back. I walked out of the house, out of her life, leaving behind the wreckage of our shattered marriage. The divorce was swift and relatively painless. Elara didn't contest it, seemingly resigned to her fate. I moved into a small apartment in the city center, a stark contrast to the spacious family home we had shared. I threw myself into my work, finding solace in the logic of code, the predictability of algorithms. But the pain lingered, a dull ache in my heart that refused to fade. I missed the companionship, the intimacy, the simple joys of married life. I missed Elara, the woman I thought I knew, the woman who had once been my best friend, my soulmate. As the months passed, I began to rebuild my life, slowly and cautiously. I reconnected with old friends, took up new hobbies, and started to explore the city I had neglected for so long. I even started dating again, tentatively, dipping my toes back into the treacherous waters of romance. One evening I received a call from a mutual friend, Braun. "Have you heard about Elara?" she asked, her voice hushed. "No," I replied, my heart sinking. "What's happened?" "She's been diagnosed with a serious illness," Braun said. "It's quite advanced. She's undergoing treatment." But her words hung in the air, unspoken but understood. Elara was dying. I felt a wave of conflicting emotions wash over me: shock, sadness, and yes, even a flicker of compassion. Despite everything, despite the betrayal and the pain, I couldn't deny that I had once loved her deeply. The thought of her suffering, of her facing death alone, filled me with a profound sense of unease. I hesitated for a long time, wrestling with my conscience. Should I reach out to her? Should I offer my support, my forgiveness? Or should I stay away, protect myself from further heartbreak? In the end, I decided to visit her. I knew it wouldn't be easy, that it would dredge up painful memories and unresolved emotions. But I couldn't live with myself if I didn't try to offer some measure of comfort, some semblance of closure. I found Elara in a hospital room, pale and frail, her once vibrant eyes now dull and weary. She looked so small, so vulnerable, a shadow of the woman I had known. She gasped when she saw me, her eyes filling with tears. "Alaric," she whispered, her voice weak. "What are you doing here?" "I heard about your illness," I said, my voice trembling. "I wanted to see how you were doing." She smiled weakly, her lips barely curving. "That's very kind of you, Alaric, but I don't deserve your kindness." I sat down beside her bed, taking her hand in mine. Her skin felt thin and fragile, like parchment paper. "Don't say that, Elara," I said. "We all make mistakes. The important thing is to learn from them." She closed her eyes, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek. "I've made so many mistakes, Alaric. I've hurt so many people." "No," I said, "but it's not too late to make amends." We talked for hours, dredging up the past, confronting the pain, and offering forgiveness. Elara confessed her regrets, her shame, and her deep remorse for the hurt she had caused. She admitted that her affair with Jules had been a foolish attempt to escape the monotony of our marriage, a desperate search for excitement and validation. "Never stopped loving you, Alaric," she said, her voice barely audible. "I was just too blind to see what I had until it was too late." I didn't know if I believed her, but I wanted to. I wanted to believe that there was still some good left in the woman I had once loved, that her betrayal had been a momentary lapse of judgment, not a reflection of her true character. As I sat there holding her hand, I realized that I had finally let go of my anger, my resentment, and my bitterness. I had forgiven her, not for her sake, but for my own. I couldn't change the past, but I could choose to move forward, to heal, and to find peace. Elara passed away a few weeks later, surrounded by her family and friends. I attended her funeral, standing silently at the back of the church, a solitary figure amidst the mourners. I didn't speak, didn't offer condolences, but I paid my respects to the woman who had once been my wife, my lover, and my betrayer. In the end, I realized that life is too short to hold on to grudges, to wallow in self-pity, and to let the pain of the past define our future. We all make mistakes, we all stumble and fall. The important thing is to get back up, to learn from our experiences, and to keep moving forward towards a brighter, more hopeful tomorrow. I am still Alaric, the IT consultant from Bristol. I am still a logical man who values honesty and integrity. But I am also a man who has been betrayed, heartbroken, and ultimately healed. I have learned that forgiveness is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to the strength of the human spirit. And I have discovered that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope for redemption, for renewal, and for a new beginning. Now, years later, I sit here in my small study, the rain still falling outside. But the storm within me has subsided, replaced by a quiet sense of peace. I have moved on, found love again, and built a new life, one that is filled with joy, laughter, and unwavering trust. And I know with absolute certainty that Elara would be happy for me. That is my story, a story of betrayal, forgiveness, and ultimately hope. A story I share with you not for sympathy, but as a reminder that even after the most devastating heartbreak, life can still be beautiful. Hold on to your integrity, readers. Don't let the bitterness of others define your path. Choose forgiveness, choose healing, choose hope. Your future self will thank you for it.